Alright punks, we are back with another vlog here. Parx Casino again, another 2-5 session for you. We get in some really interesting spots in this one. So, without further ado, let's get to some hands. We start this session looking down at Queen Jack offsuit on the button. Now I know a lot of you have been asking me, why am I not showing my hole cards? And the simple reason is that in Pennsylvania, I'm not allowed to film at the tables, and in New Jersey as well, from what I understand. The East Coast poker scene is really behind the times on the vlog culture. So one thing you could do to help out, throw a comment down below, like, subscribe, help the channel grow. Then I can go back to the casino executives and say, hey, you guys are missing out on an opportunity here for free advertising. Let me film. I'm just filming my cards. It's of no detriment to the game. So if you want to do that real quick, that'll help out the channel and it'll hopefully get me to be able to film at the tables. Under the gun +2 raises to 20. The low jack, high jack, cutoff, big blind, and I all call. With 102 in the pot, we see a flop of King Jack 4. It checks to the cutoff, who bets $55 here. With second pair, I feel that I can peel one off, and we make the call, as does the big blind. Everyone else folds. Now with 267 in the pot, we're off to a turn of the 5 of clubs. When it checks to me, I see no reason not to bet here since they're giving up the lead, and I bet out for $85. The big blind folds, but the cutoff is stubborn and wants to come along. So now with 437 in the pot, we see the 2 of clubs on the river. It's not a great card for us as the wheel draw gets there, but the villain really shouldn't have that here. But though the problem is I'm still losing all the kings as well. When the villain checks to me, I decide to take my showdown value and check back, only to see the bad news that the villain had king queen the whole time, and we were drawing pretty much dead the whole time to a jack, and we ship off a few chips here. Our next playable hand comes in the form of pocket tens in the big blind. The button raises to $25. The small blind then 3 bets to $115. We think about 4 betting here for a minute, but we feel the spot is not that good since we could get 5 bet jammed on and just have to fold. We also feel that folding here is a bit too nitty, so that really leaves us only one option, which is a call. And the button calls behind, so we don't have to sweat a 4 bet here. We're off to a flop with 345 in the pot, and it comes off 7-4-3 with the 7-3 of clubs. Not too bad as we still have an overpair to the board, as well as a blocker to the flush. We're surprised when the small blind checks to us, though. This could be a trap with a big hand like aces or kings, but we can't be afraid of monsters under the bed, so we lead out for 175. The button calls and the small blind folds. Now with 695 in the pot, we smash it when we hit the 10 of hearts on the turn. Now that we have the nuts, we check for deception, but the button doesn't take the bait and checks behind. Off to a river, we actually improve when the 7 of spades hits the board. Since I have less than a pot size bet, I shove for 462 total. The villain thinks about it for a while and eventually calls.
All right.
I show and he mucks, and we're able to get more than a full double up here. And I'm glad to be able to scoop in some chips now and hopefully keep the run good going. The next hand we decide to play, we are under the gun and look down at ace-8 of hearts. We make it $20 to go. The button and the small blind call. With 65 in the pot, we see a flop of ace-king 4 with the ace-king of clubs. Not a bad flop for us with top pair and a backdoor flush draw. However, I think the odds that we're good here are no more than 50%. With the board being so wet and connected, I think a check is in order, and I'm delighted to see it check through. We see the jack of spades on the turn. With no improvement and actually a significant downgrade to our hand, we decide that this might be a good spot to make it look like a value bet and bet small, representing that we flopped a monster. So we make it $30. This bet fooled exactly no one, as the button and the small blind both call. The pot now has 155 in it, And the river is the 10 of spades. As if we didn't already know we were beat, this confirms it. So we check when the small blind checks to us, and the button fires for $75. When the small blind folds, we do the same. This naked ace is going to be no good here, so we might as well just move on and not throw good money after bad. Our next playable hand comes in the form of 7-8 of hearts in the big blind. Middle position makes it $20 to go, and we're the only caller. With $42 in the pot, we're off to a flop heads up of Queen 7-4. Middle pair and a backdoor straight and flush draw, so not terrible. We check to the aggressor who bets $45. Even though this is a pot-sized bet, we seem like it's a weak bet. It seems like he wants me to fold, and if he had any kind of strong hand, why would he want me to fold? He would want to string me along. With that thinking, I call. With 112 in the pot, we see a turn of the Jack of Hearts. Now with a pair and a flush draw, we're feeling much better about our chances here. We check again to see if the villain will throw out another bet, but they slow down and check behind. The river is the Ace of Hearts. Woo-hoo! Our backdoor flush gets there, and we're trying to think what we can bet to get out of the villain. So we go into the tank and we think, if he has an ace-X sort of hand where he might have checked the turn because he was afraid to fire 3 streets with no pair, maybe we could get him to call. Probably anything else here, unless he had some sort of sneaky set or 2 pair, is probably going to fold. If he's going to fold most of the time no matter what, but might have a couple value hands that he could call with, we think sizing up is going to be the better option to polarize our range. We decide to make it $125. Unfortunately, the villain quickly folds, so he must not have had much after all. What would you size up to here? Do you think that this was a bad bet, or do you think my thinking was on par? Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think, what you would have bet. I'm really not sure what he could have had here. I'm not sure if I just priced him out of it, or if he really had nothing, he was folding no matter what. A short time later, we find ourselves under the gun with Queen Jack offsuit, and we decide to make it $20. The button and the big blind both call. With $62 in the pot, we see a flop of Jack 9-4 with the Jack 9 of spades. We hit top pair with a decent kicker, so we lead out for $30. The button calls and the big blind folds. The pot now has $122 in it, and we see the Ace of Hearts on the turn. We continue the story here and lead out for $45. The button calls, which gets us a little bit worried.
Danger warning. Danger warning.
But we might still be ahead. Off to a river with 212 in the pot, we see the 9 of hearts. Not good for us since we're now losing to all the 9x hands along with all the other hands that we were already concerned about. The problem is if we check, we would likely face a larger size river bet instead of being able to name our own price if we fire out here. So we decide to fire out for $85. The button, however, he's got different ideas and quickly raises to $200. I really didn't see this player raising with less than a 9x hand here. I don't even think ace-x would raise here. With that in mind, it's an easy fold, even though essentially it's a min click, but there's no reason to chase here if we really feel that we're beat. We're trying to be patient and build a stack here and a good table image that I can use later when on the button I look down at the Moron Brothers, Pocket Jacks.
They are the Moron Brothers, don't get along with others.
All right, guys, don't crush our soul this time. Anyway, middle position and hijack limp, then the cutoff raises to $30. When it's on me, I contemplate my options and I think a raise is in order. If we get 4-bet, we can easily fold, and if it's a scary flop, we might be able to get someone off of a better hand if we're still aggressive. We settle on $140 and only the cutoff calls. With $297 in the pot, we're off to a flop of King 9-4 with the king and the 9 of clubs. When the cutoff checks to me, I see no reason to stop here, and I bet out for $100. Without much thought, he calls. Now, with $497 in the pot, we go to a turn of the 8 of hearts. When the cutoff checks to me, I think there's a good chance he's trapping, and with a second flush draw that's on the board now, I really don't think that I'm going to get a better hand to fold, and I don't think I'm going to get a worse hand to call. So I check. The river comes off the 6 of spades. The cutoff checks again, and at this point I feel I have enough showdown value, and I won't get any calls by anything that I'm beating, so I just check back, and the villain shows me the bad news when he turns over pocket queens.
Hell damn far.
I think a 3-barrel here may have got the job done, but I really not sure. You know, it's been a pretty sticky table, and a lot of people don't like to fold premium pairs, especially if there's only one overcard there. It's a tough spot. I chose the meek route thinking that maybe I had somebody who had a flush draw. Fortunately, I was wrong this time, but I did limit the damage with the checks. The next time we're on the button, we get a slight upgrade to pocket aces. The straddle is on, cutoff calls. I make it $50 to go, and only the cutoff calls. With 117 in the pot, we go to a flop of 9-7-4. Looking over the cutoff, I can see he only has about 150 left, and I'm thinking about how I can get the rest of this in the middle when, to my surprise, the cutoff just open rips for what ends up being 147. We obviously call here. The board runs out ace of diamonds, 2 of clubs. We turn over our set, the villain mucks, and we're able to add a bit to our coffers here thanks to him getting a little bit out of line at the wrong time. A little while later, we are in middle position and look down at pocket sixes. Not being a big fan of limping, I raise to $20. Low jack, big blind, under the gun, all call. The pot is $82 and we see a flop of ace, ace, 5. Not happy to see the aces, but with there being 2 of them out there, it's less likely one of my opponents has one. When it checks to me in flow, I check as I would all of my ace-x hands, but apparently no one else has anything interesting either as it checks through. Off to a turn, we see the 5 of clubs. With the board double paired now and it checking through, I take a stab and bet $20. Check to me. Low jack has other ideas and calls, and middle position also calls, but the other 2 players fold. With 122 in the pot, we see the 10 of clubs on the turn. It's not the 6 I was hoping for, but we do still beat all the king high and queen high hands that the villain might have floated the turn with. Since we have showdown value, we check. Villain has other ideas and bets out $55. We think for a bit and decide this situation is rife with bluff potential, and we decide to keep the low jack honest and call. We find out that we took ourselves to value town when the villain shows ace 7 offsuit. Not our best read here. We could have gotten away from it, but it was such a small bet that it just seemed like it could go either way. But I have to remember at these stakes, most players won't bet the river without it. A couple orbits later, we are on the button again, and we look down at 2 red 7s. The straddle is on this hand, and there are limps from under the gun +1, middle position, and hijack. When it gets to me, I decide to make it $55, and only the hijack calls. With 147 in the pot, we go to a flop of jack 8-7, all spades.
That's what I'm talking about.
We flop bottom set on this monochrome board. When it checks to me, I decide to check since I don't think I'll get 3 streets of value here. And if another spade comes off, I can keep the pot small and try to get a cheap showdown. The turn is the ace of clubs. This is a good card for us because now any ace-x hand is caught up a little bit and can either call a bet or maybe even lead out. When the villain checks to us again, I check back and set up the river over bet on any non-spade river in hopes that the villain will just think that we have a busted flush draw and end up calling off. The river ends up being exactly what we wanted with the 4 of hearts. Hijack now finally bets out for $50. I do my best to look weak and quickly raise to $350. The villain only has about $480 left in his stack after betting the $50. So this bet represents most of his stack, but not all of it. He doesn't seem to like this, but he also doesn't seem to want to fold. He goes into the tank for about a minute and ultimately calls and turns over pocket queens. I wonder if we could gotten the rest if we shove. I don't think so, since he was so on the fence about calling the bet in the first place. I think leaving him with a little bit behind, he had in his mind that if he was wrong, he could still have something to claw back with. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think I could have gotten the rest of his stack here? The very next hand, we are in the cutoff and we look down at King Queen offsuit. We make it $20 to go. The button decides that this is a fair price and comes along. So does the small blind. With $65 in the pot, we go to a flop 3 ways and see 5-5-3 with the 5 and 3 of clubs. We completely miss this flop, but when the small blind checks to us, we take a stab for $30. Neither of the players believe what I'm putting out there, and they both call. Still 3 ways to a turn with 155 in the pot, we see the king of diamonds. When it checks to me, I put at least one of these players on a flush draw and decide to check for pot control to see what the button wants to do, and if he makes a move for the pot, I think I can check raise here to really put him to the test. I don't get that chance though when the button checks and we're off to a river and see a terrible card for us, the 10 of clubs. The front door flush gets there, and even though I have a blocker, I also have enough showdown value to check call any river bet by the button. But it doesn't come to that when the button checks back. We show our pair and the other 2 fold, and we're able to take down this little pot. For the last hand we played this session, we are on the button and we look down at Queen 10 of hearts. The under the gun player raises to $20. Middle position, hijack, and the cutoff all call. I contemplate a squeeze here, but I get the feeling that the under the gun player is fairly strong, and a call is a better option here, as my implied odds are going to be pretty good if I flop big. The big blind also calls, and we're off to a flop 6 ways with $122 in the pot. That flop is pretty favorable for us with the King Jack 5 rainbow. Under the gun leads out for $45. Middle position makes the call, and we're obviously going to peel one here with an open and a straight draw. And to make things better, the big blind comes along as well. Down to 4 ways with 302 in the pot, we hit our money card, the ace of clubs. The big blind, under the gun player, and the middle position player all check to me. With the board being so coordinated and a backdoor flush coming in, I decide to size up and see what I'm dealing with here, and I make it 175 to go. Only the under the gun player calls, and this call really seems to me to scream set, 2 pair, or a pair with a club draw. With 652 in the pot, we see the 6 of clubs fall in the river. This is awful, as the backdoor flush did get there, and when under the gun checks to me, I'm in a position where I don't think I can get a hand that I'm beating to call, and I don't want to put out a bet and just get raised off of such a strong hand here. So I check back, and the villain turns over ace king offsuit for top 2 pair. I give him the bad news, and I'm able to scoop a really nice pot here at the end, and I play a couple more hands until my blind, but nothing of note, and I rack up and head to the cage. Okay, punks, we were into this session for $1,000. We were out for $2,002, so that makes us $1,002 to the upside. The run good continues. The year's been great so far, and we're stoked how the last few sessions have been going. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me to get the channel out there to more people. The growth has been great. It's really humbling to see so many people liking, subscribing, commenting, enjoying the vlog. I'm having a blast making it, so keep it up. Another thing that I have in mind is, as we're growing, getting closer to that magic number of 1,000 subs, I'm thinking of doing a giveaway when we get there. So in the comments below, drop an idea of what would be a good giveaway. I have some ideas floating around, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think would be a good giveaway for when we reach 1,000 subs? Now, keep in mind, I don't make any money off this vlog, at least not yet. So it's got to be something within reason. It can't be, give me a Bugatti, give me a house in the Hamptons, something like that. That's not going to happen. But I have some ideas, so I'd like to hear what you think. Drop it down below. Remember, like, subscribe, comment. Really means a lot to me. And we'll see you next time. And always remember, run it up the punks.